So these are the talents I use for this run: Enlightenment, Angelic Feather, Afterlife, Light of the Naru, Binding Heal, Divinity, and Apotheosis. Binding Heal, Divinity, and Apotheosis combined with Enlightenment are really the ones to focus on. Light of the Naru was useful as well, but the Angelic Feather and the Afterlife were nothing to be, to write home about. It wasn't even used, I don't think. So this is the start of the actual run, where I completed all 10 levels of it. It was a little dicey at the beginning just because I was trying to make sure the recording was actually going. But as you see here, one of the biggest talents that comes into play is the Apotheosis. Using that correctly is probably the biggest thing I had to adjust to, as well as having the artifact ability. Knowing when to use that is a little tricky. It turns out that it's probably best, at least in this terms of the proving grounds, to use it right before the enraged ads come out. Using that to help stabilize the tank is really the key. I think in the current form of this video, you're going to see some things where I probably didn't play optimally. A lot of that, to me, has to do with not being able to keep track of my cooldowns on all of the little things that you have at the moment. Having 3 cooldowns as opposed to 2 is kind of huge, and you've got the mini cooldowns with the holy words now to manage, and that can be a little challenging at times. Binding Heal here I used quite a bit, just because you get 3 people healed with 1 spell cast. Renew is out there, and it's something you got to maintain, but it just takes a long time for that to actually tick up to a meaningful amount. I feel like Prayer of Mending is still a bit weak. This is obviously subject to numbers tuning that they might do. A couple times here, when people get that little debuff that will tick until they are fully healed, I just end up using the Holy Word single target heal to get them back up, to try to save the mana. Even though I did take the 10% increase mana regeneration, it can get a bit tight. As you'll see here, the tank has the debuff, so he's taking a lot of damage, and it's really draining my mana more than I think it really should have been. But unfortunately, I wasted my Holy Word on the... I wouldn't say I wasted it on the Hunter. You gotta use it on somebody, right? So there's a lot of times here where I have to spend some more time casting on the particular target than I wanted to. That's really where your mana savings are going to be. Not wasting mana casting things when you could have used 1 spell to avoid having to spend 3 casts on something. You want to be, judicious in the use of the Holy Word, but at the same time, it can end up saving you a lot of mana in the long run. As you'll see, I hit my stride really, at the end, I have over half mana going into, I think, wave 9 or 10. Here it gets a little dicey. I'm trying to keep people up as much as I can. The tank is taking a lot of damage, and the DPS I kind of let suffer for the most part, although I do dispel the mage here. I'm so used to live having something that will show me a little bit more of a visual indicator on the actual unit frames when somebody has a magical debuff, so I was trying to keep an eye out for the actual bubble animation. I think I missed it on the rogue here. And, it's not the end of the world. I was actually debating on if it's worth it to dispel it versus the damage that 1 person takes, especially if it's a rogue. I mean, not the end of the world.
A new challenge. Illusionary conquerors. When they become enraged, they strike with incredible power.
It was interesting to see the new Hymn of Hope talent come back. Well, they don't call it hymn, they call it Symbol of Hope. I haven't actually tested it out much. It looks like the way it works is that it'll reduce the mana cost of everything for 10 seconds to basically 0. And that has some pretty nice implications. I don't think that you can get away with not having that in a raid. So the utility there is pretty strong. Divine Hymn still in a 5-man situation is very questionable, usually. It's really set for those large group raids where you can get, you know, at the maximum targets getting the benefit of each tick. So here, I don't think I end up using Holy Word on the Hunter. I'm able to get the debuff off without having to use it, which is always nice. This Enrage, I freak out a little bit, but I think the tank actually, I don't know if you pop shield one there, you might have, which is great when the NPC actually does something useful. I get pretty low mana here. Gets kind of scary. You're like, oh, you know, wave 7 and I might be going luckily I can kind of back off from the healing for a good chunk of time at the end here after we kill this. I have a habit of casting Prayer of Mending almost on cooldown. This comes from all the days of and that AoE use of the Holy Word there was probably a bit excessive, but we had some time. I regen mana pretty well, so making use of that talent. There are arguably some talents that are better on that tier. The one that causes your renew to stay every time you use a single target heal would have saved me a lot of trouble on the tank, and maybe would have been may have saved me more mana than the actual mana regen. But there's an Enrage that we were able to handle without having to use any major cooldowns, which was great. Going into, I think, the 9th round, I have all my cooldowns up, so I was pretty confident that I could get it. Took me a couple tries. I was a little surprised how hectic Wave 10 got, because I didn't remember it being that hard in previous expansions. And this is with a fully powered artifact weapon that I'm doing this. On the PTR, on the beta right now, you can create a PvP character at max with Season 1 gear and the fully powered artifact, which is what I've got for this video. So as you see here, I have over 50% mana, all my cooldowns are available. Looks pretty good. Despite the turbulence in the previous waves, this one's looking pretty good. There's the Enrage. I think I immediately popped the artifact weapon ability on the tank and used the Holy Word. Just trying to make sure that I stay ahead of the incoming damage. Get the Dispel on the Mage, pop the AoE heal, and then just go back to kind of trying to spam the cheap heals that I can. Binding Heal used to be on live about the same mana cost as Flash Heal, but it would heal 3 people if you glyphed it. So I used to abuse that quite a bit on live back when challenge modes were relevant at the beginning of the expansion. Not that challenge modes aren't relevant now, but when you had to do them to get gear for the raids before you could get into the raids. So we still got one of the big guys up, but he's mainly handled, so still going in with, you know, Guardian Spirit available, Apotheosis available, 1 charge of the artifact weapon ability, and Divine Hymn. I think I used Divine Hymn at the end just as a seal the deal kind of thing, making sure that nobody ends up dying.
I am a wall of iron, but I cannot hold much longer.
So here we've got a big boy coming, using all that Enrage. We'll use the Holy Word there to get him topped off, even though he turns his back as he's running away from the Enraged dad. There's an Aqua Bomb here. I don't think I actually get the Dispel. I was more focused on other folks.
I am sure they are trying, Kaval. Being nice.
Use Apotheosis here. Try to get the cooldown off of the Holy Word. That's the way Serendipity works now. I don't know if I mentioned that, but being able to get that Holy Word off cooldown is a lifesaver. Pretty low on mana, but I knew it was the last wave, so popping everything. There's an Aqua Bomb that's probably going to go off. Well, maybe I got this one. So I think here, I pop him just to kind of ride out the damage till the end. throw some smites. Probably would have been better if I did that throughout the fight, but smite right now doesn't cost any mana. There it is, Proving Grounds Gold. Overall, Holy feels pretty strong right now. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you again.